So we're back. I would like to apologize for this delay, and obviously we had to stop the final race because unfortunately we had a technical problem with the track we were using. Even though after endless hours of testing before this tournament, but unfortunately such things can happen in technology. So now the final race is going to start with 4 drivers. Actually we're going to go for the Barbagallo track now, which was used for the elimination, so that we don't risk again. We're going to go for a 5-minute warm-up and a half-hour race for this final of the Thrustmaster GT Tournament by World Pro Racing here live at the Malta Esports Festival, brought up by gamers.com.mt. With me, as I said earlier on, is Edwin with the commentary today, and Justin, obviously enough, as always, the technical guy behind all broadcast and obviously even the setup and running of the race. So be with us. It's gonna start very, very soon.
Okay, another welcome everyone. Good evening everyone. We're live again here at Barbagallo Circuit. Green light is on, so we'll begin this warm-up session. This 5 minutes warm-up session, we're on once again. The Ferrari of Kurt Camilleri is out. Track looks sunny today as well. And as the drivers make their way for this warm-up session, some sunny weather along the way as well, so we're gonna have a clean, dry race as well. As Kurt Camilleri passing by the Aston Martin of Matthew Gallia. Seemed to slow down a little bit, but then picked up the pace again. Kurt Camilleri down to the last corner, he goes. And on to the start-finish straight to start another lap. Up 30 gears he goes. Braking down, downshifting to the first right-hander. Locks the front wheel. The front right wheel at the entry, then the left, and then the right, then the left again. Okay, so I have a slight glitch here, so we're gonna restart the warm-up session. Okay, welcome back everyone. Warm-up session is on. Red light still on. And the first driver out is the Porsche of Bernard Vella. So first man out, Keith Camilleri, with his brother Kurt just beside him. Both of them practicing starts and squabbling around on the pit exit as well. Kurt Camilleri and Keith Camilleri. Ooh, Kurt Camilleri sideways there in the Ferrari 488 with Keith Camilleri just behind him. Brothers trying to find the limits of the track, and maybe one studying the other where his weak points are. Kurt Camilleri, remember, is in the Ferrari 488. Keith Camilleri is in the yellow number 74 Corvette. Looking at the number 74 Corvette machine of Keith Camilleri, just behind his brother Kurt Camilleri in the Ferrari 488. On to start their hot laps. Kurt Camilleri lets his brother pass by. Clean track in front of Keith Camilleri. Just over 3.5 minutes left of this warm-up session, and we go straight to the live race, which will be a 30-minute sprint race between four competitors: Matthew Gallia in the Aston Martin, Kurt Camilleri in the Ferrari, Bernard Vella in the Porsche, Keith Camilleri in the Corvette. With Keith Camilleri right now setting the fastest Sector 1 and Sector 2 of the track, 21.3 and 16. Just beaten in Sector 2 by Bernard Vella, 15.7. Bernard Vella obviously driving the Porsche vehicle. Fastest lap for Bernard Vella in the Dempsey Porsche with 53.755 lap time. Keith Camilleri just behind him, 53.824. Kurt Camilleri, Matthew Gallia, sorry, in 54.3. Then Kurt Camilleri, 1 minute 490. So a slow lap there by Kurt Camilleri just to get the temperatures up. Again, Bernard Vella going for a hot lap. Right now we're looking at the current first placed man, which is the Dempsey Porsche Bernard Vella. On board with Bernard Vella right now as he goes over the crest and then downhill to brake hard for the tight right-hand last corner. Clips on the curb. Not sure how good it will affect him lap time, but let's see. Over the line he goes, and lap time is 53.792, which is a bit slower than the previous fastest lap. Kurt Camilleri now in second place with 53.799. Keith Camilleri 54.278 in his yellow Corvette racing machine, and then last place man Matthew Gallia in the Aston Martin racing car. Now looking at Matthew Gallia, which is lapping on the high 53s, 53.967. All these guys are approximately on the same level of lap times with high 53s and low 54s. So we're looking at Matthew Gallia and the Aston Martin Racing. Now we switched to the Porsche of Bernard Vella, currently leading this pack with just 1.5 minutes left of warm-up session. So it's Bernard Vella, then Keith Camilleri, then Kurt Camilleri, and then Matthew Gallia in the Aston Martin racing machine. Looking at Kurt Camilleri's Ferrari 488 GT car. Around the first corner he goes. That car looks so great in the hands of Kurt Camilleri. Really driving it as hard as he possibly can. Out from the left-hander and then the right-hander again. For the number 51 Ferrari 488. Kurt Camilleri, breaking down to this long right-hander. Ooh, a bit of a grass there for Kurt Camilleri. Trying to find the limit, these guys. As now we switch on to Keith Camilleri on the final corner. He goes, and the start-finish straight. The number 74 Corvette machine, lapping in the low 53s. Keith Camilleri 53.883. So it's a high 53 for him. Bernard Vella still leading the pack. Then Keith Camilleri, Kurt Camilleri, Matthew Gallia and the Aston Martin Racing. We're looking at third place man Kurt Camilleri. On board with Kurt Camilleri. Bit of understeer in that car right now. Corrects it with a bit of opposite lock. On the grass right now, Kurt Camilleri, and back to the pits he goes. So it's 8 seconds remaining of warm-up time. So we're about to go racing for the final time at the Go Malta Esports Festival 2018 Thrustmaster GT Tournament 2018 Championship, powered by rFactor 2. So we got Bernard Vella in the Porsche on pole, Keith Camilleri in the Corvette in second place, his brother Kurt Camilleri in the Ferrari, and last placeman Matthew Gallia in the blue Aston Martin machine. And we're about to get underway here in Barbagiallo. And away we go. Kurt Camilleri, great start for Kurt Camilleri in the Ferrari. Sliced his way past 3 cars already. Breaking down the first corner. Kurt Camilleri takes the lead. His brother Keith Camilleri battling around with the Porsche of Bernard Vella. So it's Kurt Camilleri leading. Keith Camilleri in second place. Then Bernard Vella in fourth place. Looking down the inside is fourth place man in the Aston Martin, Matthew Gallia. Still Camilleri that leads the way. Keith Camilleri in second place. Then the Porsche of Bernard Vella. Then the Aston Martin of Matthew Gallia. Matthew Gallia looks down the inside of the third place man Bernard Vella and the Porsche. Kurt Gallia still already getting up the speed and creating a gap to his brother Keith Camilleri. Concluding lap 1 they go. They brake hard for the last corner. Kurt Camilleri in first place, Keith Camilleri in second. We look at on board from the third place man Porsche Bernard Vella, taking the slipstream from Keith Camilleri, breaking down to the first corner. Keith Camilleri, defensive line there, great driving from these two, with the Aston Martin of Matthew Gallia in fourth place. Looking at these two in front of him, maybe if he keeps up the pace, he can get a slipstream from the Porsche of Bernard Vella. Kurt Camilleri leading in his Ferrari 488, then Keith Camilleri in second place in the yellow Corvette. We're looking at him right now. These two have had a really good squabble in the elimination 1 race. So it's Kurt Camilleri leading with the fastest lap of the race, 58.149, a second faster than his brother Keith Camilleri in second place. Then Bernard Vella, then Matthew Gallia in the Aston Martin. Down the hill they go. Another defensive line from Keith Camilleri as the Porsche of Bernard Vella tries to look down the inside. Keith Camilleri manages there to keep second place. But here comes, we're on board here with Keith Camilleri. Piling on the pressure on him is third place man in the Porsche, Bernard Vella. Kurt Camilleri is already building up the gap to 1.4 seconds already. Looking again on Keith Camilleri. Third place man in the Porsche, Bernard Vella, trying all he can and maybe driving the wheels off that Porsche to try and close the gap to Keith Camilleri, or maybe forces Keith Camilleri into a mistake. Kurt Camilleri already 1.6 second gap over his brother Keith Camilleri. On board now with third place man in the Porsche, Bernard Vella. In the Porsche we go. Keith Camilleri, defensive line already for him. They brake hard together. Bernard Vella brakes that little bit late, tries to go around the outside. Keith Camilleri blocks the pass, blocks the way through, but still on it. Still Vella in the Porsche trying to get the slipstream off Keith Camilleri. They brake hard again. Defensive line to the inside from Camilleri in the yellow Corvette. We're on board now on fourth place man Matthew Gallia. trying to take third from the Bernard Vella Porsche man. Kurt Camilleri looking to create a bit of a gap right now, since these three are squabbling over second, third and fourth place. Kurt Camilleri already having a sizable gap, 2-second gap with his Ferrari 488. Still Vella trying to push Keith Camilleri into a mistake. Keith Camilleri is not phased right now at this early part of the race. Remember, it's a 30-minute race. It's just a sprint race. No pit stops or anything. A great drive there by Bernard Vella. Still looks down the outside of Keith Camilleri. Keith Camilleri knows he's there, so they're still side by side. Vella and Camilleri side by side. The Corvette getting a bit sideways, still side by side. They're still at it. The Porsche and the Corvette still side by side. Camilleri still has second place in his bag. But Vella in third place is looking to get that second place away from Camilleri. Fourth placeman in the Aston Martin, Matthew Gallia, looks on as again and again. Vella tries to pile the pressure on Keith Camilleri, who's noticeably slower than these two guys behind him. Kurt Camilleri has already 2.8 second gap over his brother Keith Camilleri. You can see him in the distance already. And again they break hard. Vella breaks so much later than Keith Camilleri, but was unable to make a pass there. Keith Camilleri, bad exit from him. Great drive from Vella on the Porsche. Tries to slipstream him again. Round the outside he goes. Turn one again for the two of them. Vella versus Camilleri, round 3. They're still side by side. Camilleri still holds his second place. And another time, Vella picks up the slipstream from Camilleri. Another defensive line from Camilleri. Takes it a bit wider, but then gets the inside of the corner. Meanwhile, Gallia and the Aston Martin tries to pick up the pieces from these two. If these two guys tangle, then that's it for these two. And Gallia will be on course for a second place podium finish. Camilleri, Vella, another great drive behind Camilleri. He picks up the slipstream once again. Down the start finish straight they go. Into turn 1 they go. Kurt Camilleri still checks out his lead. Vella on the outside. Camilleri on the inside. Round 6 now. It's Corvette versus Porsche. Aston Martin in 4th place. Matthew Gallia in 4th place. Camilleri still in 2nd place. Trying to hold on the pressure being piled by Bernard Vella in the Porsche. Kurt Camilleri still in 1st place. 2.5 second lead. He can rest a bit right now, Kurt Camilleri, as the lap times his putting are a bit higher than before. Keith Camilleri is 54.2, registering 54.2 on the last lap. Bernard Vella 54.3 in the last lap. Kurt Camilleri in 1st place 54.5. Down the hill they go for the final corner. Another time. This is lap 7 of the race. Keith Camilleri right now has a bit of a breathing space between him and Bernard Vella in the Porsche. Lap 8 right now. It's still Kurt Camilleri that leads the way in the Ferrari 488. Keith Camilleri in 2nd place, but he has a bad exit for the Corvette man. And maybe this is the only chance that Bernard Vella has with his Porsche, as Keith Camilleri is really good on his brakes and really good at defending his 2nd position. They're still at it. It's Corvette against Porsche, against Aston Martin. And again, round the outside goes Bernard Vella, but there's no way through. We're on board right now with Kurt Camilleri, with Keith Camilleri in his yellow Corvette. You can see his brother up front in his Ferrari 488. The gap still 2.8 seconds, hovering around 2.6, 2.8. We're on board right now with Bernard Vella on the Porsche, trying to get a good exit for the last corner. But Keith Camilleri has it already checked out. Slipstream being picked up right now by Bernard Vella from the Porsche. They break hard into turn 1. Keith Camilleri, good over there. Good defensive lines there by Keith Camilleri. We're on board right now with Bernard Vella. This is the view from Bernard Vella's Porsche. Braking hard, downshift they go into this tight left-hander. Keith Camilleri really holding his nerves and lines over there. Defensive driving from Camilleri in the Corvette. Now up to the gears they go. He knows he's there. He knows. So he switched already into the right-hand side. Brake hard for this right-hand side as Matthew Gallia and the Aston Martin looks by. Maybe I can get an error from these two and he can get by. Bernard Vella in the Porsche in 3rd place. Keith Camilleri in second place in the yellow Corvette, still trying to fend him off. They break hard into the first corner. Meanwhile, Kurt Camilleri is still lapping in the 54.2s. Now the gap has shrunk down to 2.8 seconds. Bernard Vella again down the outside from turn 1, but there's no way, there's no room over there. Keith Camilleri blocks him by. This is great stuff, great driving by these two. Not tangling, not anything. We're looking at first place man Kurt Camilleri in his Ferrari 488. 2.3 second gap between him and his brother Keith Camilleri. Squabbling around second, third and fourth place. Kicking up a bit of dust using all the track there. Keith Camilleri in the yellow Corvette. It's Camilleri versus Vella versus Gallia and the Aston Martin. And remember, if these two guys tangle, Gallia will take second place immediately from them. So they need to be careful not to get tangled or anything. Camilleri checks out in front. Gap is 2.1 seconds. Lap times are a bit higher now for Kurt Camilleri on the high 54.6s. Now 54.12 for Kurt Camilleri. Camilleri in the yellow Corvette still in second place, being hunted down by Vella in the Porsche. And still Vella trying to find the gap. But Keith Camilleri knows he's there and he's trying everything and making that Corvette as wide as possible so that Vella wouldn't get by. You get a sense that Vella here is much faster here and can get up to second position, maybe give Kurt Camilleri a run for his money as well. So Kurt Camilleri in first place, lapping in the low 54s, 54.1. Keith Camilleri in the 53.9s. Gap down to 2 seconds. Bernard Vella in third place. Then Matthew Gallia and the Aston Martin fourth place. Matthew Gallia can't keep up the pace of these two second and third place men. As Bernard Vella takes a look round the outside again for Keith Camilleri. Round the outside they goes. Camilleri on the touch. They touched. I think they touched as well. A bit of a contact there between Vella and Camilleri. Vella still in third place. Camilleri trying everything he might and making that car as wide as possible. They can see as well Kurt Camilleri up ahead of them. As Kurt Camilleri's lap time dropped significantly. Last lap for Camilleri, Kurt Camilleri 54.5. Keith Camilleri, his brother, 54.4. And Vella in third place, 54.2. Again, Keith Camilleri trying everything him again to keep Bernard Vella behind him. As it stands right now, Kurt Camilleri will go on and win the race with 19 minutes left of racing. These two have really great battles. Keith Camilleri already switching on the inside of the right-hand first corner. Vella again trying down the outside. He can brake much later than Camilleri, but Camilleri holds his nerves and blocks him away. So it's Kurt Camilleri still in first place, lapping in the 54.6s. Keith Camilleri a fraction faster than him, 54.3, and I think they're starting to catch Kurt Camilleri as well. Maybe his tires have worn out a little bit, but they're catching him really fast right now. Gap down to 1.7 seconds. We're looking at fourth placed men, Matthew Gallia and the Aston Martin, lapping in the 54.2s, exactly as actually faster at the last lap than all three in front of them. So Matthew Gallia has a chance here of maybe snatching second or even trying for the win, with still 19 minutes left to go in this race. Keith Camilleri now, bad exit for him, really great drive for Vella and the Porsche. They brake hard for turn 1. To the right-hander they go, side by side they go. We're on board with Bernard Vella, Keith Camilleri. That's a great driving there by Camilleri in the Corvette. Still in second place, trying to keep Vella behind him as much as possible. Maybe he can destroy his tires, and maybe Keith Camilleri himself can take a go at his brother Kurt. In first place, gap up now to 2 seconds exactly. And as I told you before, Matthew Gallia and the Aston Martin can sense third place here, so we can get third place of Vella in the Porsche. If Vella keeps on doing like this, his tires will wear out immediately. We're looking at second place man Keith Camilleri, fighting all the way through the race right now with Vella in the Porsche. The number 74 yellow Corvette machine. A big lock up there by Kurt Camilleri in the Ferrari. Just saw the smoke from his front right wheel. So it's Kurt Camilleri, Keith Camilleri in second place, then Vella in the black Porsche in third place, and then in the Aston Martin, Matthew Gallia. Still lapping faster than Kurt Camilleri, Keith Camilleri, both Keith and Bernard Vella lapping faster than the leader, Kurt Camilleri. We're looking at the battle for second place. If Bernard Vella gets by Keith Camilleri, I'm sure they can go at Kurt Camilleri in first place. Both brothers doing a solid job. Kurt in first place, Keith in second place. They're doing an excellent job. Round the final corner they go. This is lap 15, so we're about to start lap 16 with just 16 minutes left of racing. 54.3 for Kurt Camilleri. Again, Keith Camilleri breaking that little bit earlier, and Bernard Vella breaking that little bit later than Keith Camilleri, but not finding the gap at turn 1. He has to try somewhere else. Turn 1 is not an option for him. Keith is really good at deadlining in the turn 1. So, gap down by that lock-up mistake from Kurt Camilleri, gap down to 1.4 seconds. Gap has significantly shrunk down right now. Keith can see his brother up ahead. Both Keith and Bernard Vella actually can see their brother up ahead. Matthew Gallia and Aston Martin, meanwhile, cannot keep the pace up of these three ahead of them. Gap right now is 1.2 seconds between Matthew Gallia in fourth place and Bernard Vella in the Porsche, who is in third place. Again, Keith Camilleri, that bad exit for him. Bernard Vella can take a much better drive out of the last corner, but can't find the space. But he can't find the hole from Keith Camilleri, and as they catch up to Kurt Camilleri, I think Kurt Camilleri's tires are a bit done. Keith Camilleri is really caught up to his brother right now. Last lap for Kurt Camilleri in first place was 54.4, and his brother Keith 54.2. So the gap has shrunk down to 1 second. It was 2 seconds 3 laps ago. And if Bernard Vella keeps on pushing Keith like this, Keith can catch up his brother Kurt and maybe takes first place from him. We just have to wait and see. We're just under 15 minutes left of racing. Again, another lock-up there from Kurt Camilleri, which is not going to help his lap times. His lap times have significantly dropped a little bit. Keith and Bernard Vella have already started catching him. The gap down to under 1 second. It's 0.9 of a second right now. Kurt Camilleri in first place, then Keith Camilleri in second place. Bernard Vella and the Porsche still in third place, and fourth place man, we can see him right now, is Matthew Gallia in the Aston Martin, lapping in the mid-54s. Gap is 2.7 seconds between last placeman Matthew Gallia and first placeman Kurt Camilleri. And gap between the two brothers up ahead is 0.7 of a second. So we might see a three-way fight for first place instead of a two-way fight for second place. Kurt Camilleri, over the line he goes. Let's see the lap times. It's shrunk down a little bit as well. It's 0.6 of a second between him and his brother Keith in the yellow Corvette. So the gap has significantly shrunk down, and we might see a three-way fight between the two brothers and Bernard Vella in the Porsche for first, second, or third place. Meanwhile, Matthew Gallia, if these three start squabbling between themselves, Matthew Gallia and the Aston Martin, who is a bit behind right now in 3.1 seconds behind Kurt Camilleri, might have a big chance of closing the gap as well. Let's see what the race is going to pan out. It's 13 minutes for the checkered flag. So we have Kurt Camilleri in first place. Maybe his tires are struggling a little bit as Keith Camilleri closes the gap significantly. And you can see the gap as well. Gap between Kurt Camilleri and Keith Camilleri is under half a second right now. Kurt's times have significantly gone down a little bit, so Keith has to get on with it. Keith in second place has to pass his brother Kurt, as the Porsche of Bernard Vella is just right behind him. And we're on board with Keith. We're on board with Keith Camilleri. He breaks down, downshifts into second gear. To this left-hander they go, and then the right again. He has to get past his brother, otherwise Bernard Vella in the Porsche will have a really good chance here of snatching both of these guys in one go. Kurt Camilleri is still struggling with that Ferrari 488. Keith Camilleri with a much better exit here. Over the crest they go, and downhill they go when they brake hard for this last corner, it will be the start of lap 21. And another bad exit for Keith Camilleri. Gets Bernard Vella a chance here to slipstream him for the first corner, but no chance. Keith Camilleri is really good. Another look up for Kurt Camilleri. This could be a real chance for Keith Camilleri, his brother, in his yellow Corvette. This could be the real chance to put a car between him and Bernard Vella. He can use his brother to block Bernard Vella's Porsche. Kurt Camilleri is struggling a bit with his tires right now. We're on board with him. Let's see if he has a lot of understeer maybe in that Ferrari. And yes, he has loads of understeer. He tries to get around the corner, but the car wouldn't turn in. That's understeer. Understeer is when you turn the wheel and the car won't turn in. Oversteer is when you turn the wheel and the back end of the car steps out. We go downhill again for another time to the final corner. This is lap 21. Gap between these two, Kurt and Keith Camilleri, is 0.4 of a second. A great exit there for Bernard Vella. That's a great drive from the final corner. Keith knows he's there. He's already gone defensive. This is a three-way fight. Kurt Camilleri is still in first place. Second place is his brother Keith. Then third is still Bernard Vella. He can't find the way over that yellow Corvette. Keith Camilleri, we remember, he's a former Italian Formula 4 driver, racer. Kurt Camilleri, his brother, meanwhile, is in first place. Keith in second place. Then Bernard Vella in fourth place. These two have been squabbling around for all this race, but now they caught up with Kurt Camilleri, whose tires may have gone off a little bit. It's step 22, and the gap is 0.5 of a second between the first two. Then Bernard Vella, who has 0.4 of a second gap. Braking hard to the final corner. And Bernard Vella made a small mistake there. He made a small mistake. That's a breathing space. That's some breathing space for Keith Camilleri, who can get on with it and maybe challenge his brother for first place. This is lap 22. Kurt Camilleri in first place, lapping on the 54.1. His brother Keith, 54.2. Bernard Vella with that mistake, 54.6. The gap has significantly shrunk down. It's 0.3 of a second between the two brothers. But Bernard Vella is really good now. He's already behind. In just 3 corners, he's already behind Keith Camilleri. So we get a sense that maybe Bernard Vella is much faster than these two in front of him, but there's no gap to pass Keith Camilleri. A great exit there for Bernard Vella and the Porsche. Maybe he can get the slipstream down at the back straight. This is the final corner. Can Bernard Vella look a bit down the outside? No, he can't. Keith Camilleri is good on the brakes there. He has a good defensive line there. Another exit, another great drive exit for Bernard Vella and the Porsche. That Porsche is really good. They're side by side right now. Turn one. It's Camilleri versus Vella again. Camilleri still holds second place. That's a great drive there by Camilleri. He knows that Bernard Vella is much faster than him, but still manages to keep him behind. Kurt Camilleri is still in first place. Keith Camilleri needs to get on with it and maybe pass his brother to get a car between him and the third placeman Bernard Vella and the Porsche. Kicks a bit of dust as well, Bernard Vella, using all the track he can to try and catch these two ahead. Gap on the front between Kurt and Keith is 0.3 of a second. Down the back straight they go. Still these three are locked tight against each other. Maybe Bernard Vella is the only one who gets the gap a little bit sideways there. That Porsche was really bouncy in the air. If he does it again, he might damage the suspension or maybe throw that car away on the other side of the wall. Still Kurt Camilleri in first place. Keith in second. Bernard Vella in third. Matthew Gali has dropped a bit away from this leading group. We're on board right now with Keith Camilleri, looking at his brother in his Ferrari 488. Much better exit here for Keith Camilleri in the yellow Corvette. He might try a lunge down the inside. Kurt Camilleri brakes later. Wider and then tighter in the corner again. Keith just behind him. Vella is just behind him. Down the back straight they go. Can Kurt look down the inside? Defensive line for Kurt already. Keith brakes harder, really harder, and gets that gap really down right now. Kurt is struggling. In that Ferrari. Keith picks up the slipstream in his yellow Corvette. Down to turn one we go. They brake hard. Vella with a bit of lockup in the Porsche. There's still maybe 0.6 of a second between these three of them, or maybe 0.5 of a second between these three of them. Still Keith Camilleri. We're looking at Keith Camilleri right now. He's the man on the move right now. If he passes his brother, he can get a car between him and Vela and the Porsche. Matthew Gallian in fourth place. There's a 5.1 second gap from him and the leader. So he has a solitary race in fourth place. But maybe if these guys tangle, there's a good chance he may get third or second place. So we got Camilleri in the Ferrari 488, his brother Keith Camilleri in the yellow Corvette, Bernard Vella in the blue Porsche. Still a great exit there for Bernard Vella. He's nailing that corner and trying to do whatever he can to pass Keith Camilleri in turn one, but that Corvette is really fast down the straights, much faster than the Porsche, and Keith Camilleri can place that car beautifully to defend his second place. Still Kurt manages that small gap he has over his brother and Vella in the third place Porsche. Still trying to manage his gap and tires. Kurt Camilleri, we're looking at him right now. Just over 5 minutes left of racing. Keith Camilleri takes a look to show his brother that he's there in his mirror. He can brake much later than his brother. We're on board right now with Keith Camilleri. Vella behind him. Camilleri in the yellow Corvette picks up a bit of a slipstream. They brake hard for turn one. They are still trying to take a look at each other. Vella still behind Keith Camilleri, sideways for this part of the track. And still Camilleri, Keith Camilleri trying to pass his brother Kurt Camilleri. At this stage, at this first sector, you can sense that Keith Camilleri is much faster than his brother Kurt, but then Kurt Camilleri in sector 2 can get on with it and maybe create a bit of a gap, and that's the breathing space he needs. The second sector. Much tighter line in the corner there for Keith Camilleri, much wider line for the Porsche of Vella. We're on board with third placeman Bernard Vella. And they're still trying to study each other. Kurt Camilleri clips the curb. Vella with a much greater drive there, much better exit. Keith Camilleri defensive as well. He knows Vella is there. He knows it. And he knows that he is faster down the straight. So a bit of a defensive line there for Keith Camilleri. Sector 1. Gap still hovering around 0.8 of a second between these three. It's Kurt Camilleri still hanging on to first. Second placeman Keith Camilleri. Then Bernard Vella, third placeman in the Porsche. Flames being thrown from the back of the exhaust of that yellow Corvette. Keith Camilleri in second place. We're looking at first placeman Kurt Camilleri. Actually, we're looking at all three of them because the gap is only 0.5 of a second between these three. Again, Bernard Vella trying to squeeze his Porsche round the final corner, and again a much better exit for the Porsche, black Porsche driver. Obviously, the Porsche we know has the engine at its back and the Corvette engine at the front, so maybe that could be the better exit that Bernard Vella needs. It's the better traction that he needs. While Keith Camilleri there tries again at sector 1 to pass his brother Kurt, but sector 2 Kurt has much better exits than his brother Keith. Defensive line there by Keith as Vella makes it sure that to let Keith know that he is there. Still Kurt Camilleri in first place. Bit of a gap between him and his brother. Gap right now is half a second. All three of them. Bernard Vella really close there to Keith Camilleri, almost going into the back of him. We're on board right now with Vella in the black Porsche. Brake hard. All three of them into turn 1. They all take that tight line into turn 1. All three of them symmetrically. They're all synchronized driving right now. So it's Kurt Camilleri, Keith Camilleri, and Bernard Vella. If one of them makes a mistake, the other one will sure ready to pounce on the other one. We're on board right now with Bernard Vella in the black Porsche. Another tight line there by Keith Camilleri, trying to get a much better exit and drive to get to overtake his brother. Now he picks up the slipstream. Keith Camilleri picks up the slipstream of Kurt Camilleri. at the final corner we go. Will Keith Camilleri lunge down the inside? And that's really great driving by both these brothers, Keith and Kurt. Kurt defensive line for Kurt Camilleri, breaks later. Now Bernard Vella has a much better exit than Keith Camilleri in second place. They're side by side again. Keith Camilleri tries to pick up the throttle. He tries to pick up the gas and maybe challenge his brother Kurt Camilleri. Kurt Camilleri is not phased at this part of the race. He's not making any mistakes at all. These three have been battling for almost 15 minutes right now with only 1.5 minutes of racing. So it's Kurt Camilleri, Keith Camilleri, and Bernard in the Porsche. And you can get a sense that it's not only Kurt Camilleri that's going to win this race, but maybe one of these three, if it keeps on going like this with just over a minute of racing to go. So it's not over yet. From the final corner they go. Bernard Vella, he's trying. He senses second place at least from Keith Camilleri. Keith Camilleri, defensive line already for him. Tries to pick up the slipstream a bit from Kurt Camilleri. He goes down the inside. He knows he's there and he's crashed. They touched. Vella touched Camilleri. And maybe that has blown the chances for him to pick up second place from Keith Camilleri. Still Kurt Camilleri in first place. Still Keith Camilleri in second place. And Bernard Vella with a bit of damage on that. With a bit of damage on his Porsche in third place. Kurt Camilleri, we can see him there sawing that steering wheel. His tires are already a bit shot. We're looking right now at Bernard Vella. Picks up the pace immediately to get behind Keith Camilleri. He knows that it's the final chance. It's the final time he can make a pass. It's just 12 seconds behind of racing. So it will be, this will be the final lap of the race. So we're about to go to the final lap of the race. It's Kurt Camilleri leading his brother Keith. Then Bernard Vella in the Porsche. Keith Camilleri knows. He knows it already. He knows it's the final lap. So he's trying whatever he can to pass his brother Keith. Will he go down this? No, he can't. Kurt Camilleri here is really good on the brakes, really good at taking the tight line. Keith Camilleri, they bump, they touch. Keith Camilleri in first place. Bernard Vella in second place right now. Keith Camilleri is run out. Keith Camilleri ran out of fuel. Keith Camilleri ran out of fuel. So it's Keith Camilleri in first place. His brother Kurt has run out of fuel. He was in first place. He ran out of fuel. Keith Camilleri in first. Brandon Vella in second place in the Porsche. Can he take a look down the inside? Keith Camilleri is about to win. He tries down the outside. They touch again. Keith Camilleri, he pushes it down the outside, takes the curb. Keith Camilleri is going to win this final race. And he manages to take him to get him off the track as well. That's a great win there for Keith Camilleri in the yellow Corvette. Great driving again by Kurt Camilleri. A shame that he ran out of fuel. Great driving by all of them. Bernard Vella in the Porsche. Great racing once again. This 30-minute sprint race was a real showdown between the two brothers, Bernard Vella and Matthew Galli and the Aston Martin. That's a great race, guys. So it's Keith Camilleri who won this race. Bernard Vella and the Porsche in second place. Matthew Galli and the Aston Martin finishes third, and Kurt Camilleri finishes in fourth place. A bit of a short break, and we will be back with the trophy celebration.
A long road and the money's gone. All the Swear you played your part from the very start just to come this far. You should know I believe in you. Every race you run, you're my number one. Kick it off now and bring it on. This will be your day. 'Cause baby, you were born to win. Never give up, never give in. You were born to win. Your destiny is victory. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Baby, you were born to win. You set it up and you knock it down. You're all set now to rock this town. You don't really need to play it low. Just get up and go. This is all your show. You should know I believe in you. Every race you run, you're my number one. Kick it off now and bring it on. This will be your day. 'Cause baby, you were born to win. Never give up, never give in. You were born to win. Your destiny is victory. Yeah, 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 baby, you were born to win.
استنى شويرة. So, Matthew, Galia, the race is over. It was an exciting race till the end. As we saw, unfortunately, Kurt ended up without fuel. So, we have our third place here, Matthew Galia. Just your experience these 3 days here with us. First time maybe in a tournament like this. So, just a brief thing about your experience.
It was amazing. I learned a lot, and it's the first time I actually raced with people who are in the same place. I used to race online, but it was amazing. You learn from other people, see them actually drive, and it was a great blast.
So we'll see you definitely for other tournaments we'll be doing in the future, and maybe online also, because you're a PS4 player. Maybe go over to PC.
Maybe, yes. I wish I had a PC, but unfortunately I don't, so I race on PS4. But thank you, very well organized, so thank you very much.
Thanks very much. Thanks. Second place, Bernard Vella. Bernard, just a brief, your weekend here, tournament, okay, it's not your first one, it was maybe, it's your first one as a competitor possibly. How was your experience this weekend? Different cars, different tracks, ending up second finally, so.
Yeah, I enjoyed the weekend. It was a great experience. I had a really good pace throughout. Unfortunately, in the final race, I couldn't overtake because I knew that if I was in front, I could escape. But that's how it goes sometimes.
Yeah, it's part of racing. Keith gave you a little bit of hard time in this last race. Obviously, you tried a lot to overtake, but that's racing. Obviously, there is also some experience behind Keith. So definitely we'll see you again. Well done for your second place. So let's call the winner of the Thrustmaster GT Tournament, Keith Camilleri. So Keith, as I was talking to the other drivers, your experience through this weekend. Actually, it's your first race that you managed to win this weekend. So tell us through it.
Well, thank God I managed to win the most important race. It was the final race. Yeah, I'm happy I managed to win. And overall, the setup and the event was very good.
You was given a helping hand from your brother that unfortunately ended up also without fuel. So
yes, it was like a lucky win for me because he ended up without fuel, and this track was a bit difficult to overtake. So I think I would have been second.
definitely it was an exciting race between your brother, yourself, and Bernard all through this final race today. So well done. As the winner, obviously enough, I have something here. It's heavy, but I managed to take it. So, as we said, the winner takes with him the Thrustmaster TSXW steering wheel and pedals back home, and I call Justin now, obviously enough, to give also the trophy to Keith, thanks to Marindex also a token. So well done, Keith. Some last words from Justin.
Well, I must say thank you to all the drivers, all of them. There were beginners as well who never tried any simulator, and I'm very proud of everyone, especially the top driver. Keith is a very professional driver. Kurt Camilleri also, his husband, I was gonna say, his brother. All those drivers, even if you come last, it doesn't mean that you're not a good driver. It means that you have to practice more to become a better driver. No one can be the last driver forever. You can keep on practicing and doing all your best. This would have not happened without all the sponsors. Thanks to the main sponsor, Thrustmaster, who sponsored the TSXW wheel, and also Marindex Trophies, who sponsored us the trophy for this event. Thanks to everyone who support us. This event was run by me and Adrian only. Sorry if we had some issues, but they were out of control. Imagine having 2 people only doing this event. So thank you very much. Thank you everyone. Thanks to all the participants and all the sponsors.
Thanks everybody. Thanks for being with us. Watch us, follow World Pro Racing for much more news coming up for next year and even later on this year. Thanks and have a nice evening.